Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Talking About Birds, the only Cardinal podcast that, like the lineup and the U.S. government, are ready to start talking about nukes in the group chat. My name is Nate Heininger, and I am joined by my co-host.
What's up, Nate H?
You look so... Ben's wearing a hot dog hat and sunglasses. He's looking good. This is we got a new season, a new Ben.
Season 4, baby. I'm cool now.
He's cool now. It's good. I like the hot dog hat. If you have an idea for the opening bit, text or leave us a voicemail at 848-48-BIRDS. This came to us via text message by the same person who sent in the Wicked one from a couple weeks ago. I'm going to start calling them like the Bit Lord or something. They've got some good bits coming in. I actually received a couple, received a few good ones this week. That one was quite topical. And this shows if anything, it's topical. So I had to go with that one. But if you've sent in opening bits and I haven't done it, trust me, I will. And again, I want to remind everybody, they don't have to be good. Low bar to get on the show.
Yeah. Here we are.
That one, I assume, talking nukes, maybe like home runs, like bombs, tanks and stuff like that, or blowing up the team.
Yeah, I guess. Or I'm going to take it this way because it's the start of the season and we can be optimistic. I think it's the amount of energy and excitement that's coming. It's like a nuclear reactor. That's how jacked we are about this beginning of this season. That's how I'm going to take it.
Yeah, as equally excited as we are for the current state of the U.S. government.
Yeah, I mean, I think, the fact that they're texting out military secrets is pretty exciting, too. Like, how are you cool. Not jacked about that? Yeah.
Aren't we great now? It's great. We love this. It's great now. Things are great. We're loving it. But baseball is back. This is launching. This episode's out on opening day. It's going to be hopefully a beautiful day here in St. Louis, although there is a chance for rain. So we'll see how that goes. But whatever. I'm excited. Baseball is starting. Hambone, so you're going to Rocky home opener, but that's not tomorrow, right? So
that's not tomorrow. That's next week. I'll be at the Rockies home opener on April 4th, my friend.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So do you
against the A's? Wow.
All right. I mean that might actually be kind of fun. We've talked a lot about the power of the Athletics. So you might see some bombs.
I'm looking forward to it.
Do you have? I think we talk about this every year, but like, do you have any opening day traditions? Assuming, like in this case, you're not going to the game, but you've got the first day of games. Almost every game tomorrow starts at either 2 p.m. Central or 3 p.m. Like they've really stacked it all together now, which is fun. What's your plan for tomorrow?
Yeah, I think it's really just sit at home and absorb baseball. We have no plans tomorrow. I'm going to make myself available and watch a bunch of baseball. Maybe I'll order some food or something like that, but it's really just all about sitting around. I might have a couple of cold ones on the couch.
Okay.
But now it's all about that MLB.TV multi-view and, just clicking around and just taking it all in. Really, really nothing fancy, just watching as much baseball as possible. Yeah, I mean, that's it, really. Nothing else.
Yeah, I'm basically the same. Now, it is the Cardinal home opener, and I am intending to go. I've got a couple scheduling things I'm still trying to figure out. But either way, I'm going to be enjoying it. If I'm in the cases where I'm not able to go to the home opener, what I've done for many years in a row now is go and get a sandwich from one of my favorite places here in St. Louis, Joya's, get a hot salam.
Ooh.
And watch as much baseball as possible.
Yeah, I'm looking at the forecast right now, and it's looking like maybe we'll be okay. Maybe not. I don't know. It'd be a huge bummer to have the home opener rained out, but that's St. Louis weather, baby.
Yep, man, what a cool show. We're just both looking down at our phones to check the weather.
I'm cool. It's season 4, baby. I'm cool now.
It's
That's what
cool.
I
This
do.
show is cool now. We got a hot
Yeah.
dog hat.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were talking before we started. I'm thinking about becoming a hat guy, like a cap guy like that. I need a good hot dog hat though.
You need a big set of hats, man. That head is large.
Large, extra large. Yeah, I got a jumbo size noggin here, so I sometimes have to get like custom sizes or go shop at the Shaquille O'Neal store.
Nailed that. That was good. I liked it.
Speaking of, if I do go to the game, I got to check out that Chicken Shack. If I don't go tomorrow, I'm going to go, I think, in the next week or so. So I was thinking about doing some live reporting on the Chicken Shack sandwich, assuming it's still there, and maybe we'll see what else is new in the ballpark.
Yeah, I feel like didn't our field correspondent Rob go and seek that out and said it was terrible last year or maybe the season prior? You got it.
We've
you
had
still
some,
should try it, but yeah, I think
we've had some chicken.
We've had
various on the ground reports come into talking about Bird's headquarters about the quality of the chicken sandwich.
Yeah. I did read, this is not a St. Louis thing, but I did read that if you remember, the Texas Rangers had that boomstick chicken sandwich or whatever the fuck that thing was
called.
It
was like a 3-foot chicken sandwich or something like that.
They now have a boomstick burrito. It's a I think it's $34 or $36 burrito that's 2 feet long. I think we need to go off site and go hit this Rangers food situation up.
Each start at one end.
We could Lady in the Tramp. I was just gonna say this. Lady in the Tramp, a 2-foot long burrito.
We'll need a third seat to be in between us so we have plenty of space.
We could set the burrito in that third seat and then at the 7th inning begin to eat it.
This is my son. I bought a seat for my son.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Hambone, the spring training battles have been fought. Decisions have been made.
We got to Nate, this is
a packed show
to the gills. We got to get to the baseball talk. ASAP.
Don't even get me started on again talking about what packed to the gills might mean. We don't have enough time for that. We've got to get going.
The outline is bursting at the seams. That one makes sense. Bursting at the seams makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Google Docs is saying, "Whoa, slow down."
They were really, really letting people behind the curtain. We use Google Docs.
Oh no, we're gonna be hacked. So yeah. I mean, it was after a very boring off season. It was a relatively straightforward spring training. We went in with the sense of some there were certainly battles. I know
what you're trying to say, Nate, but really what's happened is that John Mozeliak has set this franchise up for future success, long-term future success, by making bold decisions.
Is that how you're feeling right now?
Yeah. Season 4, baby. Let's go.
Wow, we're cool now. Well, let's talk about it, okay? So there was the big discussion that at least us in the fan base we're having pretty much all spring training. The big battle was who is going to be the center fielder and what are the downstream impacts of that decision. And pretty much everybody, ourselves included, had boiled it down to Victor Scott is either going to start or he's going to be in AAA, and Siani will probably be the 4th outfielder no matter what, and then Nootbaar will play either center or left, and it's all that was everything starts from there. Turns out we were all wrong. And they did the decision that I think was the least likely one, but let's talk about it. Will you break down what the decision was and how this and who's going to be on the roster?
Yeah, so and I'd like to preface it. We kind of talked about it. It just really seemed like Lars Nootbaar was going to start in center field because that was the only way that you and I could conceive of Nolan Gorman getting every day at bats, and that's
Mm-hmm.
manning second base most of the time, and then getting probably some spot starts at DH with Alec Burleson and Luke and Baker kind of all mixed into there. Ali Marmol and the front office disagree. They're going to figure it out somehow how to get Nolan Gorman at bats. I'm not sure exactly how that's going to unfold, but they decided that Victor Scott, the second, after having we talked about it for the past month. He batted almost 350. He hit 4 bombs. He stole 5 bases. He looked great in the outfield. He had a 198 WRC plus, albeit in only 16 games. But the guy was on fire.
What else could you ask from? Like,
he could not have done
arguably
anything more.
Perfect spring, right? Like, exactly. We wanted to see some power. Saw power. One of the, I don't know what the total count was, but did anyone else hit 4 home runs in Cardinal spring training camp this year? It wasn't a particularly powerful team. So maybe Wilson.
I think
I know Baker
did actually.
Baker,
yeah. And I can pull this up so that we don't get destroyed. Yeah, it was Baker and Scott hit 4, Bertley hit 3, Wilson Contreras hit 2.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, essentially what you're saying is he just forced his way into the conversation, and the Cardinals, for better or worse, are allowing him to kind of force the issue. And he is here now.
Yeah.
He is the starting center fielder. It was reported by Derek Gould earlier this week that he's going to get a long look at center field. He is your center fielder going forward. And one part of me is really excited about this because I do believe Victor Scott is the future. And when he shows a month of quality baseball like that, maybe the changes that he made in the offseason and the changes that he made in early spring are real. And maybe he is here. Maybe he is ready to go. I do think everything about that is exciting. I also think he's, probably a step down from Michael Siani, but could be every bit as good of a defensive center fielder if he gets those reps and continues to develop. It's the crunch that forces on the other side, the rest of the way that the 26-man roster is configured, that is the confusing part of it. But
sure.
I want to be clear. The Victor Scott of it all, I'm very excited about, and I think that this is going to lead to exciting early season baseball for us to watch.
I agree 100%. He's not in control. It's not his fault. Any of the impacts of him being in the everyday starting lineup. And if you look at in a vacuum of we're trying to figure out the future of each position, this was exactly the right way to go, because no matter what, even if Lars Nootbaar was the starting center fielder on opening day, that was more about getting his bat in the lineup and assuming long-term someday he's going to slide back over into one of the corner spots and we'll figure out who our center fielder is in the future. But you got to, I mean, this is a quote-unquote development year. Center fielder, arguably one of the most important roles on the team. You've got this guy who certainly seems ready. Why not? Why not go for it? So I ultimately, even though it has some complicated impacts, I like this decision. And I was really glad to see this is one of 2 moves that the Cardinals announced in this last week that I'm full endorsement of. I'm really happy to see the team prioritize the youth and actually give them a chance. So all about it. We'll talk about the other one here in a little bit, but like, full in on it. I do think, though, what you said, frankly, I think this ultimately means that the Cardinals are going to give Nolan Gorman less at-bats than they initially said they were going to at the beginning of this spring. I think that's going to be the outcome. Gorman getting 650 plate appearances was essentially dependent on Arenado being gone and Gorman being your everyday third baseman. That is not the case. He's now in a like a platoon battle with all these other guys to see who can hit and who can't, and whoever hits will stick, and whoever can't, we'll see where they end up. Of course, there's always the injury factor and all that, but we were talking about this in the Bird Scored. It's all well and good to assume someone's going to get hurt. Odds are they might, but also they might not, and you might go months without someone getting hurt. And that's kind of a good thing, right? So we can't just keep banking on someone will get hurt and there'll be a starting opportunity for someone, So Yeah, that's where I think Gorman is the loser of this decision.
Yeah, I think it is. I think there are two losers of this decision, and that is Gorman, and then Fermin or Barrero or
Yeah.
whoever that other guy that was just about to be the 26th man. Because as we said, Victor Scott was not going to be a bench player. He's either going to be the starter or he's going to be starting in AAA. So that means with him getting that promotion, that means that Fermin or Barrero or Hellman or whoever was your guy is in AAA now. And that means, we don't really have a backup shortstop on the team. I think that, Gorman will find at bats anytime Brendan Donovan is starting in the outfield or starting at shortstop. Nolan Gorman will be in the game. You also have Gorman has the ability to spare Arenado, getting him a day off at third base.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he'll split time in between second base, third base, and DH. But if Alec Burleson is mashing righties, which he tends to do, it is very hard to see how he gets a ton of at-bats. I agree with you. The problem that I have with this roster construction, and I'm not sure there's any way around it unless you trade a guy, which isn't going to happen at least right now, is that Gorman, Baker, and Burley don't have a ton of position flexibility, and you kind of need to see what they all have on the bat to see who's the guy that you're going to go with. And it's up to Ali Marmol to find those guys at bats and put them in the right situation to see if we like what we have. There's not a ton of positional flexibility on this team right now, which is kind of like, it's too bad because if we're talking about being good this year, or if we're talking about pushing, that's kind of the opposite that all good teams, the opposite philosophy that good teams take. But the fact of the matter is you got to see what these guys can do, and you got to figure out how they're going to mix and match. And, with Wilson and Arenado taking up those corner spots, it just is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair to Gorman, at least second base, third base, probably first if he absolutely had to. That's pretty good flexibility for a guy of his build.
Absolutely.
And approach to the plate, right?
It is. But there are three stalwarts position players. So that's Wilson Contreras, Brendan Donovan, and Nolan Arenado. So it's just hard to find. And I guess Lars Nootbaar, I'll throw him in that list too. It's hard to see the days off right now. But
yeah, I'm surprised that Siani is still on the team. It seems to me that selecting Victor Scott, which we all agree was the right call, makes Siani unnecessary because, let's assume you're doing Siani in center or Scott in center, Newton left, and Donovan at second. If you need that fourth outfielder, you can put you can move Newton to center. You can move Donovan out to left and then put Gorman at second or some version of that, right? You've got your fourth outfielder in Brendan Donovan. We don't love him out there, but he's certainly capable to fill in a game in the event that something happens. So when and how are we using Siani on any sort of consistent basis other than, I guess, you're taking out Walker probably in the 7th or 8th and putting Siani out there, or maybe putting Siani in center and moving Victor Scott over to right field if you want to play it that way. But is that worth carrying? And if really our goal is to get Jordan Walker as many at bats as possible, do we want to take him out in the end of the game, or do we want to give him that extra at bat? I don't know. I guess it depends on the state of the game and how serious the Cardinals are about trying to win. But it just doesn't seem to me like there's really a need for Siani right now. But you really can't trade him. I'm not aware of his current options status. I guess we could look that up real quick. But it just seems to me like you made your decision with Victor Scott. We need to move on from Siani. If you have to completely cut Siani, that sucks. But we got Koperniak, we got Church, we got plenty of other guys that have a higher long-term ceiling than Siani. It just seems like maybe it's time to move on.
I think it's pretty clear. Siani has 2 options remaining, by the way. But I think it's pretty clear that and I guess I could throw Fermin into this mix as well, although I'm not sure we have ever seen Fermin play center field. Hellman and Barrero make a lot more sense for this lineup than Siani.
Yeah.
They are they're right-handed hitters, which the Cardinals need a little bit more of. And I think, they can both play center field. They can both play shortstop. And that means you basically play anywhere on the field. So I think one of those guys, even if they're not hitting, just from a defense standpoint, a defense flexibility standpoint, they make way more sense on the roster. I get the allure of Michael Siani because, as we talked about last year, he has potential to be the best center fielder in baseball, which is huge. But if you're betting on Victor Scott, it really doesn't make sense. I'm with you on this.
Yeah. Yeah. You essentially chose Siani as the 26th man over Barrero or Hellman or Fermin or, many guys.
I think Hellman or Barrero or Fermin, less him though, is like, even if those guys are hitting $150 in the big leagues, they make a lot more sense for the way this roster is constructed. So we'll see how long this sticks around. I don't know if Siani's sitting on the bench for 2 weeks to start the season, maybe that conversation starts to stir and maybe he goes down. Because I do think there is value in having a Siani. It's just not for this team construction right now.
Yeah. Well, and that's an important thing to remember too, I think, is that we put a lot of weight on these decisions on what's the opening day lineup, what's the 26 man going in. It feels like a culmination and something that the team is making final decisions and sticking with. But with the current situation with the Cardinals, most of these guys have options. We've got it's a soft deadline, I guess. In 3 days. They could be like, all right, Siani, you've been optioned down and we're calling up Barrera. Maybe they like a couple of the matchups here in the first week and they think Siani will play well and they're going to send him down in a week and all this doesn't really matter,
The only young player on the Cardinals starting 26, position player that doesn't have an option is Ivan Herrera. Everyone else is kind of fungible in a way. So they'll figure it out. Guys might go up and down. Wouldn't surprise me to see Gorman even down it with this early roster configuration. But the Cardinals are super flexible from that standpoint right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And they might as well. I suspect we're going to see a lot of that Memphis train, the Memphis shuttle, I suppose, this year.
It could be a train. That's cool.
Sure.
You can make it whatever you want, Nate. Be a spaceship.
I too am a ferroequinologist.
What?
A train enthusiast.
Oh, equinologist?
Ferroequinologist.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I just heard the equine, and that makes me think of equines, which is, I don't think of a horse.
I don't know. Maybe
right.
It's like, what is a train but a whole bunch of horses?
All right, let's move on. What is it? Nate, it's season 4. We're not doing that
cool.
anymore.
No, I'm sorry. We're cool now. I don't take the train. I take my Ford. Want a horse? How about my Ford Mustang?
Oh, I thought you were gonna do like a skateboard or something.
Oh, sure. Well, yeah, of course.
Two different kinds of cool.
Two different kinds of cool guy. Yeah. You look at me. I'm definitely the Ford Mustang kind of cool guy, don't you think?
Top down, baby.
Yeah. Windows up.
All right, I'm going to move us along.
Please.
Wait, top down, windows up? Okay.
That's the way I like to.
So we got our first look at the Cardinals. What were you about to say?
Come on, that's that song.
We got our first.
You're the rapster of the two of us.
Okay. We got our first look at the starting lineup and what that's going to look like. And I'm curious. I'll read it down really quickly. And I'm curious if you have any thoughts or musings based on
the Ludacris song. What's Your Fantasy by Ludacris? You know the song.
I do. I love Luda. Okay, we got Nootbaar in left, leading off. Wilson Contreras at first base, of course, hitting second. Then it goes Brendan Donovan at second, Nolan Arenado at third, Alec Burleson at DH, Ivan Herrera at catcher, Jordan Walker at right, Victor Scott 2 at center field, and Mason Wynn at shortstop. I think for me, the only surprising thing is that Mason Wynn is going to be batting ninth. I like the organization generally, though. I think Newt at the top makes a lot of sense. I think this is going to be a really big year for Nootbaar. I think he is going to stay healthy. I think he's going to hit the ball hard. I think he's going to walk more than damn near anyone in baseball that's name isn't Juan Soto. And I think he's going to really, really look nice at the top of the lineup. But any other thoughts or observations from that? What will likely be the way the Cardinals start their season?
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. Stacking on base at the top, the modern roster construction has you putting your best overall hitter in the number 2 spot, and I think it's pretty hard to argue that it's anyone other than Wilson Contreras. So he's there. I said it. We had a spring training game here a couple days ago where Newt walked, Contreras hit a bomb. That feels like something we're gonna see a lot this season, and I'm excited for that. I suspect that like the Lars, Wilson, Donovan, Nolan will likely be a relatively consistent top 4. Everything after that, it won't surprise me if we see 1,000 different versions of this.
Yeah, I think they Ollie has flirted with this idea of really playing matchups. So I hope that they leverage that more than they ever have, especially with the way this roster is constructed. But I think it's fun to go left, right, left, right. Actually, that's to start. I just think that is good baseball. Tony La Russa would do that. It's good to see. Sure. And the fact that you can do that without bending over backwards, like it makes sense, the lineup to be shaped that way. Maybe Ivan Herrera takes over that 5th spot, and maybe the DH is, should be kind of a carousel. But I think the speed at the end is kind of fun. I know that some managers look at that as like Mason Wynn kind of being a second leadoff man. But I just find that to be the most interesting thing, just based on his performance last year. I'm sure it might be a little bit around kind of what his spring performance has been. He almost rolled his ankle. There's maybe they're just kind of giving him a little bit of an ease into the season, and maybe letting him get hot rather than having the pressure of being leadoff to start the season. All that being said, I think the world of Mason Wynn, but like I said, I think Lars Nootbaar is a clear best option for leadoff man on this team.
Yeah. We're seeing it too around the league. This is not the same at all, but like a Schwarber leading off, or the Yankees are having Austin Wells lead off this year. Sort of an atypical leadoff guy, but someone who prioritizes on base, but can also hit a bomb every once in a while. Kind of a fun way. I think for 100 years of baseball, it was don't even care about on base, but are they fast? Can they get on, steal a base, and get in scoring position early, even if it's an unlikely situation. I like this construction.
Look at the best team in baseball. What are they doing? They're just putting their best hitter as number 1. Shohei Ohtani is obviously he's the best baseball player around, so it might as well. But I like the idea of getting them more at bats. There's also some table setting and also some pop. I mean, leading the game off with a homer, no better way to do it, if you ask me. I don't care if it's you might be missing that guy on base.
What's the point on getting on base anyway, right? It's to get around. So well, what they say, like the more modern idea around roster or lineup construction is the second spot you put your best overall hitter, and then leadoff you put your second best hitter. And then I think it's 4th, 5th, and then 3rd is actually like the order. And it's not exactly what we're doing here, but any given day, Donovan, Arenado, or Burleson could be your best hitter. So you're kind of splitting hairs there. And I'm sure there's a degree of like, Nolan's our cleanup guy. He's, we respect him and he's still there no matter what. Like, I'm fine with that. There's not a huge difference.
Let's talk about that really quick. We'll talk about pitching here in a second, but something that I found during our research for the outline today was that Nolan Arenado might be poised to have I'm going to start talking comeback season for Mr. Arenado.
All right.
It's been reported that his bat speed ticked up almost 4-5 miles per hour this spring as opposed to last spring. His bat has been tracked. Last year it was in the basically right at 70, miles per hour. And this spring, it's been averaging about 74 miles per hour. And
It's a significant increase.
significant increase. And when we're
Yeah.
talking mid 70s rather than low 70s, it sounds like not very much. But like Nate said, that's significant. And you're looking at a 70th percentile bat speed rather than like below 50.
Mm-hmm.
And bat speed equals hard hit. The fact that he sustained that, the fact that he crushed a homer last night in that Redbird game that happened.
Those are fun, by the way.
I'm calling it right now, Nate. I'm not saying he's going to hit 330 bombs, but I think we might be back to the power swinging Nolan Arenado. I was saying this last year that he needed a swing change. He needed to find more bat speed. If he can sustain this and maybe lose out a little bit on his elite contact, this guy does not strike out, but maybe add a little more strikeouts and a little more power, we might have a lot of fun with Nolan Arenado this summer. I'm pulling for it. I want it.
Yeah.
Give me it.
I think nothing would make me and a vast majority of Cardinal fans happier than seeing Nolan Arenado just completely break out of this 1.5 year long funk. And I don't think anyone expects him to get back to MVP level Arenado, but he's still only 33. There's still plenty of time left in his age curve for him still to be elite or very, very, very good. Yeah, I'm here for it. I think we're all here for it. We know the defense is still there. Him putting up just a nice little bounce back 6-4 season. Why not, right? Make everyone feel a lot better about the whole situation. And I think, he's setting himself up for a very strange Cardinal legacy. But a big year would really reset a lot of that, I think.
I think it's coming. I think big year downloading. And maybe he leads the Cardinals in home runs. Let's go.
That'd be fun. It just also stay away from that low and outside. It's the bat speed thing and that low and outside that he just gets beat on over and over and over. So I guess we'll probably be able to see that pretty early. We talked about it. I think it was last year. Like if you're really watching his at bats, a lot of his success comes from being able to take that pitch. And if he's flailing at it, he's not seeing the ball well. And we see where that goes.
Yeah. Let's talk about the other big decision. So obviously we broke down the Victor Scott 2 aspect. Another big part of this spring was that Matthew Liberatore has earned a rotation spot. McGreevy has been sent down to AAA to be in the rotation down there. And Steven Matz, in a corresponding move, I suppose, is slated to work as the long man in the bullpen for the time being. And then when the schedule kind of gets a little more crammed, the Cardinals are going to move to a 6-man rotation with Steven Matz being that 6th starter. So I guess I'll start this with, I think the McGreevy of it all, we talked about this, like you kind of just had to pick. You had to pick either Liberatore or McGreevy. I personally went Liberatore just because he's a little bit older. And I think his stuff is, you can dream on it a little bit more, but nobody can argue with the success that McGreevy had and how good he looked. And he's going to be getting out major league hitters this year at some point in some capacity. But they flipped the coin. They went with Libby, and I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mentioned earlier, there were 2 big decisions I was very happy with. And the decision here to put Matz in the bullpen was exactly the right call. He can be very effective out of there. And if you're thinking about him as a trade candidate, if he's still very good in that role, then he will still be a potentially valuable trade candidate. But we got to start to understand what this future rotation is going to look like. And so putting Liberatore in there rather than him, it makes a ton of sense. I would even still prefer that 6th spot when it comes up for that to not be Matz and just made the decision Matz is in the bullpen. We'll see where it goes one way or another. Let's give that 6th spot to McGreevy. I think I agree with you. I've been a big Liberatore fan since we've acquired him. I know he's been uneven in his time with the Cardinals, but I still do believe on that upside. I'll just repeat my point from McGreevy last week, which is that he's done nothing but excel for quite a while now, including at the major league level. So it does feel kind of bad for him to not get a spot in this opening rotation, despite the fact that he was in it at the end of last year, and was also awesome this spring.
I mean, so good this spring. That cannot be ignored how good he was.
All he's done has been awesome since making his major league debut. And it does feel a little bit like, oh no, is this going to be the Cardinals like fucking with a guy again and sending him down when it's completely unnecessary? I think the roster management argument is a little more clear with this than some of the ones that we've seen in the past. So I'm not screaming from the rooftops here. I mean, I think they should certainly be doing him instead of Miles Michaelis, but that is what it is. We're not going to rehash that. I just hope that he keeps his momentum and doesn't see this as a like a smack in the face, because he's done everything exactly right. And I'm hopeful that he, even though they're saying it now, I'm hopeful that that 6th spot ends up being him, and they just keep it going. And injury or whatever, someone will fall out.
Well, that's where I think we should talk about is the fact that, in between all of these guys, and, let's not forget that this rotation is still older, but the likelihood of Matz or Michaelis, and I hate to say it, or Sonny Gray missing some time due to injury or whatever might happen, it's clear to me that McGreevy is the first person tagged as soon as that time comes, or if it comes. So keep him starting in AAA. And then if and when one of those guys go down, which, like I said, is unfortunately very likely, he's the first person up. And that's why I think I'm okay with it. How long has Matt stayed healthy?
Right.
How long can Miles Michaelis keep this up? People
who's
are
had a
concerned
reasonable spring, by the way. Michaelis has, and we haven't talked about it. I think almost purposefully, though we haven't even talked about it, you and I. Like Sonny Gray's had a rough spring, a very, very rough spring. Now he is like, if there's ever a time to say don't worry about spring, it is a veteran pitcher who's been successful at the major league level for a decade. That's like the last kind of guy you need to worry about when their spring is bad. But it's out there, right? Maybe there is something that he needs some time off or something to get right. So there's that floating around too.
If he wasn't such a tinkerer and wasn't such a student of pitching and it wasn't Sonny Gray, like you just said, I would be a lot more worried about it. And I think it'd be a worthy topic of conversation. He's obviously gotten hit around. He's also struck out the most people on the team. He's got 17 Ks in spring. So I think I'm not going to be worried about Sonny Gray unless he's actually injured or if there's something else wrong. But he's also been sick. He's had a weird off season. I'm not going to be concerned with Sonny Gray until he's in the big leagues and getting shelled, because everything you just said, I think he's one of the top pitchers in baseball, and I'll believe that until I'm proven otherwise. But
totally.
I agree. That's kind of why I haven't even been bringing it up, because it is, it was like when Waino would get shelled in spring back when, he was in his prime. It's like, I don't care about this. It'll turn around. Very different if you're a Matthew Liberatore or Michael McGreevy, just because of the stage of your career and everything that you should be doing in spring.
You basically got to prove it every single opportunity you have to prove it when you're at their level. Sonny Gray's proven it. He's being paid $25 million.
Yeah, he's done the thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully Sonny Gray sticks around, and but like I said, I want Matz to be healthy, and I want to be able to market him as well as the Cardinals can, so that they can trade him to X team during the season. But the odds of all those guys staying healthy and McGreevy being stuck in AAA, I view those as very low.
Yeah, I agree. I think we all predict by the end of this season, one way or another, we're going to have like Quinn Matthews, Michael McGreevy, hopefully Liberatore, because that means he's doing it and he's sticking around. These guys will all be in the rotation. It's just going to take a little time for that all to sort out.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, we've also talked about like this, could be a big innings jump for a bunch of guys on the team. So that wealth is going to have to be spread around one way or another. But yeah, we'll see him. I mean, also like, You could be right. Maybe Matz does stick in the bullpen, and Kyle Leahy or somebody else goes down, and McGreevy comes up. There's so many ways that this can unfold that I think patience is a virtue right now.
Yeah. We talked about it last week. Like most of these guys, if they even get to 120 innings, that's likely a significant increase over the year before. So even if Michael McGreevy earned the third start spot in the rotation, let's say today Michaelis got cut and Fetty got traded, and all of a sudden McGreevy's in the starting rotation, he's probably not starting 30 games this year. That's just not how teams manage their rotations anymore.
Yeah, I mean, maybe Quinn Matthews is the only one who's they would trust with making that kind of jump, but then he's also kind of like your star pitcher prospect. Maybe you don't want to do that just because you're not competing this year. We'll see how it all shakes out.
He threw like 100 innings though last year. He would be someone.
I believe it was like 140, 48 or something like that.
Yeah.
You keep vamping, Nate. I'll Google it for you.
Well, so just essentially that he's the guy who you could see coming up. Just his overall build.
I was so close.
Yeah.
143.
So you could get to 160, 170 and feel like that's actually a reasonable progression for a guy like him. And he certainly projects to be a 200 inning type guy. So, this is all fun, just Cardinal colored glasses to talk about, right? But you see a Quinn Matthews come up, they're 150 quality innings this year and get to 180 next year. And then all of a sudden now you've got, your front end rotation guy. Yeah.
You're cooking with gas now, baby.
Woo-wee, top down.
All right, let's move on. A little bit of Cardinals news in the ether this week. We'll talk. Derek Gould got a couple of interesting quotes from our fearless leader, Nolan Arenado. Arenado is quoted in saying, "There is really no narrative this year. It's let's see what we got, and we should. This should be the mindset. Let's see what we got. Let's see what we can do together. I would like to, God willing, stay healthy and give the Cardinals fans something better to remember than last year." And I think that is, I think it's nice to see. I think Nolan Arenado has a weird vibe with Cardinals fandom right now. And I think that we all need to, we talked about the applause thing. I think I am fully on board with this. I want a standing ovation for Arenado opening day. There should be no question about it. The guy wants to be here. The guy's going to come and play his face off. Let's go Nolan Arenado. I just love seeing that. I love watching him play. I love his intensity. I'm just excited to get going and watch Nolan play third.
Yeah, well, I outside of him declining a trade, which is a lot on him. This whole thing was a fabrication from the front office, right? The Mozeliak saying our 1, 2, and 3 priority is to trade Nolan Arenado.
Stupid.
All of that. Well, I mean, you do start to see why most GMs don't say anything like that. And Mozeliak never does. And then he finally gives us this is, for the what felt like the first time ever, he gave us a very clear direction of what he wanted to do, and then he can't get it done, so it looks even worse. So it's like, well, never say anything to anyone about anything, right? But again, a lot of that was all framed by him, by the Cardinals. None of that is really on Arenado. It's not. I know that's not entirely true, but still, he's a player. He's got a position. He's here to play baseball. So let's all just move on from it and hope that he is as good as possible for the Cardinals. And maybe that just means he's increasing his trade value and it makes it easier for them to move on from him at the trade deadline, or maybe it reestablishes him as a lifetime Cardinal and he's here for the next couple of years or beyond. And who knows? Either way, it's a good outcome, and we're here to watch the games and have fun with it. And there are a few things more fun in baseball than a healthy, productive Nolan Arenado, and so I'm here for it.
Hell yeah, brother!
Yeah, brother.
It's been reported that J.J. Wetherholt will be starting his season at Double-A. Looks like he will be the starting shortstop for the Double-A team. I don't think this is a big surprise, but I do think it's exciting to see that he is, a phone call away from the big leagues and will probably be in AAA, if not the big leagues at some point this season. I think it makes a lot of sense. I think it makes a lot of sense to keep him at short for the time being. Might as well. But good for JJ.
Yeah, like keep him at the most intense defensive position that he can play, and the rest will work itself out. Like we all know he's probably not going to be the starting shortstop for the St. Louis Cardinals anytime soon. Hopefully not, at least, right? But let's keep him fresh there, and it'll be easier for him to transition to second base or third or outfield or wherever he ends up. But keep him on his toes, have him do the hardest thing.
Yeah. And most shortstops, especially with his skill set, can, like you said, make the transition to damn near anywhere. So, excited for JJ. Nick Anderson has cleared waivers and will report to AAA. That big free agent signing, he sticks in the organization. It's kind of another bullet, but he had a fine. I don't know. He looked okay.
Yeah.
It's nice that he's sticking around, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, it is also a symbol of what his current status is around the league, is the fact that he completely cleared waivers and he was able to stay with the Cardinals. So we both like the signing. I still do. I think it was like an unlikely outcome for him to make the opening day roster, but he's another arm there. We'll see how it goes. He hopefully makes it to the Cardinals at some point this year.
Yeah. And final piece of Cardinals news, with the Cardinals making their way north to St. Louis, they are set to begin their $108 million renovation of the Jupiter complex. It's finally happening, Nate.
What's going to be hilarious is that they haven't updated the plans that they made in 2019 for this whole thing or whatever. And by the time it's done, it's going to just immediately be out.
Yeah. Well, hopefully with Heim, involved and all the new brains that are floating around the front office, that does not happen, but I could see it happening. And maybe this will be Mo's legacy. Maybe this will be the thing that he gives to us on his way out. What am I trying to say? I live in Colorado, right?
That's what you were trying to say.
Well, I'm a part-time Rockies fan.
Okay.
The Rockies have a more advanced pitching and development lab than the St. Louis Cardinals. And that's an embarrassment. That is completely ridiculous. And I don't buy the red tape that Mo has kind of talked us through of that's why this took so long. I don't buy any of it. So I say all
zoning laws are complicated.
My ass.
Florida, known for its regulation.
Yeah, exactly.
Too many
throw money at the problem, Mo. Let's go. Yeah. I think this is great. I'm excited to see what this all looks like, and hopefully we can get some videos and stuff next spring training. But I'm proud of you guys. You did it.
Yeah, well, I know you and I are in early talks about this, but we're talking about going to spring training next year. So maybe we can get in there.
We'll put our peepers on it. Yeah, absolutely.
Poke around.
Maybe there'll be a state-of-the-art podcasting studio down there as part of these renovations.
Yeah, I bet so. You got to have that and a good nacho stand or something too.
Yeah, those are the things they should focus on.
You want the
It'd
team
be
to
so
feel
funny if if it's all food and beverage and podcasting studio.
It's a food hall. Well, ultimately, we found it to be most effective if our pitchers had ample access to molten hot cheese. You okay, John?
And then he's retired.
Yep. All right. Well, we are going to talk about the upcoming series, the opening two series of the 2025 season of the St. Louis Cardinals. But before we do that, we want to remind everybody that this show is listener supported on Patreon, patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds. Great time to hop in. We're doing daily game day chats. All news and whatnot is being shared in there. And it's just a great place to talk to other St. Louis Cardinal fans about the team, and in a place where you're actually going to hear back from other listeners and other fans and just actually be able to engage in conversation. You can get all of C70's stat corrections There's a roast the host channel where you can make fun of us and suggest opening bits and other things like that. We're having a good time in there. Now's a good time to get in. It's going to be active as the year goes along. That's patreon.com/talking about birds. We also appreciate anyone who takes the time to rate and review the podcast. It really does help. That's what makes us show up when people search for St. Louis Cardinals and Cardinal podcasts and things like that. And then finally, podcasts still primarily spread through word of mouth. So when you're talking about the Cardinals, telling people about the season starting and whatnot, suggest the show. We really appreciate it. So, Hambone, where else can people find us online?
Yeah, I also want to. Season 4, the show's good now.
Yeah. Oh yeah, this is a good show now.
The show is good.
That's like the big thing that we're doing now.
Yeah.
Like it was a bad show, but now it's a good show. So you can tell everyone that too. Yeah.
I think that'd be a great way to kind of introduce your friends to this podcast. You can check us out on all of the socials at Talk About Birds or Talking About Birds. We're on Blue Sky, Instagram. Come look at our TikTok. We got a TikTok. You can watch this show on YouTube. Yeah, I said watch. You can come look at our faces on YouTube if you like that. You can also listen on YouTube, and we're on Spotify. So if you're one of those freaks, check it out there. You can go to talkingaboutbirds.com to find the podcast, t-shirts, everything is there. Again, that's talkingaboutbirds.com. You can email us whatever you want to talkaboutbirds@gmail.com. Email Nate, and maybe you can meet up for a big chicken with Shaq there at the ballpark. Wouldn't that be fun? And of course, you can call us and leave a voicemail or send us a text message to 848-48-BIRDS. That's 848-482-4737.
That's right, 848-48-BIRDS. All right, Ben, the Cardinals open the 2025 season at home against the Minnesota Twins.
Yeah.
What can we expect to see in this opening series?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Twins are a pretty good team. They are so. I feel bad for Twins fans in a way, just because they are betting on the likes of Byron Buxton and Carlos Correa, and they just had Royce Lewis go down for. I think I saw that it was an indeterminate amount of time.
Yeah, you love to see it
to start the season. Brooks Lee, one of their top prospects, is also injured. But even with all those guys being either question marks or injury prone or whatever, their offense is still pretty scary. They are a team that I expect to hit a lot of doinks this year, a lot of dongs. But they still have a lot of question marks. Is this the year that Trevor Larnach is going to establish himself as a thumper? What Jose Miranda did last year when he went on that insane hot streak as far as batting average, is he the real deal? Outside of that, Matt Wallner, I think Matt Wallner is maybe not a made man, but I just think he's going to have a nice year. He's going to hit a ton of bombs. They have a nice little offense. And I guess we really can't go without talking about Pablo Lopez as well. They have, I think, one of the better aces in baseball, who's only getting better. He's still only 29 years old, which is the Cardinals should have traded for him. But
yes,
can't do anything about that now. And then he's backed up by Joe Ryan and Bailey Ober. I think they're an underrated pitching staff. They're a good team. They're a good team, and if things break right, they could be a great team.
Joe Ryan had an injury last year that really shortened an otherwise incredible season. I think he's very, very good and is one of the more underrated pitchers in baseball. I think he'd be the best pitcher on the Cardinals staff, and that includes Sonny Gray. But
I think I might say that about Pablo Lopez, Joe Ryan, and Bailey Ober. Not
Bailey
to take
Ober,
away from Sonny Gray.
I'm like Ober, I think probably, but I'd if I had to, I'd probably take Gray over Ober right now. But Lopez and what's his face, Joe Ryan, forgot who I was talking about mid sentence. Joe Ryan, I think, are both awesome, and I would take them over Gray. Their lineup, you mentioned it, like. It's an entire team of low batting average, high power, high OBP guys, so like you can get through it if you can avoid the long ball, but like every one of them is up there trying to doink a dong. And, we've seen them able to do that and put it together and crush some teams. Busch Stadium plays pretty neutral. If anything, it's a pitcher's park. We'll see what the weather's like. Cold day. It's often a hard environment to hit home runs in early season. We know that as Cardinal fans. So this might be a good time to catch this team that otherwise I think is going to be really good this year. But it's all going to have to go through. The Cardinals also have to get hits off of better pitchers than we are throwing at them.
The entire projected starting lineup for the Twins has a projected WRC plus over 101. Willie Castro is the lowest. So these are all an entire team of above average hitters. Now, of course, we'll see. Like you said, there's a lot of factors, and that's assuming everyone's healthy and everything's going well for them. But yeah, it could be a very scary team. So. Fun way to start the year, I guess.
It's better. Well, it's better than like the Dodgers or the Padres or something like that. But it'll be a good opening weekend test, I think.
Yeah,
good
opening. I think we should also mention Yohan Duran and Griffin Jacks at the back of their bullpen. About as nasty as it gets.
Yeah.
They're scary. Yohan Duran in particular. He the guy that threw a 100-mile-an-hour breaking ball last year, or was that the year before?
Yeah, he's just really good. And the way they really mix and match their bullpen. He is their closer, but he'll come in the 7th. He'll come in the 8th. They'll use those guys wherever they're needed. So if it's a late inning thing, they're ahead and you're threatening, you're probably going to see Duran or Jackson, and they're both very, very good. So
yeah. So 3 games at home against the Twins, and then the Angels come in for 3 games, and it gets a bit easier.
Now, I've said many times that I'm not saying that the Angels are necessarily going to like blow everyone out of the water this year. I'm not even saying they're going to win the AL West or anything like that, but I do think this might be the best Angels team we've seen in several years.
You think so?
I think so. Yes.
Did you want to expand on that?
Low bar to clear.
You're a big Kevin Newman guy?
I'm a big Kevin Newman guy. I think you've got Mike Trout in right field. He's going to be healthy opening week. He's the best hitter of our generation by a mile, right? And so you got to deal with that. And then everyone else, they're good. I think they'll be fine.
Sure.
What's your take on the Angels?
I don't like him. I am not a Zach Neto guy. I know that I am in the minority on that. He's not going to be here. He's injured right now. Yeah. I am not a Nolan Arenado guy. I'm not a Taylor Ward guy. There's a lot of players on this team that I find aesthetically displeasing. That doesn't mean they're necessarily bad. I just don't like watching a lot of these guys play baseball. And I think their roster construction is very silly. The fact that they are betting on Yohan Moncada and Kevin Newman and Travis d'Arnaud and Tim Anderson and being real players for this team, I think that alone kind of dooms them. But I do agree. If Mike Trout can stay healthy and right, I could see him putting up 50 bombs. I really believe in Mike Trout. And I think if you look at his numbers when he's been healthy, his power hitting has only gotten better. And I don't know if he can stick around this year. I'd really like to see what he can do with 150 games played.
Yeah. So I agree with you on some of those players. Nolan Arenado, I'm not a big fan of. I also like Kevin Newman, all that, whatever. d'Arnaud is their backup catcher because I actually really like Logan O'Hoppe, who is
O'Hoppe is good. Yeah. No, I like him as well.
So I also think Jorge Soler was a good ad. I think he's a dark horse pick to lead the AL in home runs. Keep an eye out for that. Like they've got some thumpers on this team. I do like Neto, though the Cardinals will not have to deal with him this weekend. Joe Adell, another guy who can get behind one or also strike out 1,000 times. But the Cardinals primarily pitch to contact, so we'll see how that goes with Adell. But I think between Trout, Soler, O'Hoppe, Adell, Taylor Ward, any of these guys can be dangerous on a given night. And so it's not a team to be like there. I don't think the offense is a complete joke like it's been in the past, at least not here in this opening week. Going over to the pitching side, this is obviously where they are weaker. Yusei Kikuchi, their big ad.
The Astros fixed him last year.
Yeah. I mean, he could be good. I really like Jose Soriano. He hasn't really put it together just yet, but
he throws gasoline. It is nasty.
He's got elite stuff. So if he can put that together, he could be really good. After that, it really does start to kind of fall apart. Some people like Tyler Anderson. We'll probably see Kyle Hendricks in this matchup. Cardinal fans are very familiar with Kyle Hendricks. And then Jack Kokanowicz or something like that. I'm
not familiar with his work.
I generally know most guys, and that's one that I'm like, I don't even really know. They're back of their bullpen. They did bring in Kenley Jansen. He just keeps getting it done. I suspect he probably will just keep getting it done. And then they've got Ben Joyce, who, if you missed him last year, he ended the season as their closer. I was a little surprised they didn't just roll into this year with him doing that. But I guess
I agree. Yeah,
Kenley, their bullpen's pretty rough outside of Ben Joyce, so just bringing in Kenley as another arm does make sense. If you forget about worrying about who's your closer and all that, just be like, we need good bullpen arms. Kenley Jansen it made sense to me. Got him cheap, but Ben Joyce, it's a Joan Duran type guy, right? He's throwing 103. I think this is, assuming his arm doesn't end up in the catcher's mitt at the end of some pitch, I think he's going to be a guy that we're going to see for a long time in the major league level throwing gas.
Yeah, him and Mason Miller, Joe and Duran, just guys that are outliers from Velo.
He's like 22 or 23, so he's good.
Very good. So, but outside of that, it's, the team doesn't inspire a lot of confidence, at least for my money. But hopefully it should be a relatively easy matchup or an easier matchup for the Cardinals. I expect them to feast on that starting pitching a little bit.
I think the back half of the Cardinals rotation is better than the back half of the Angels rotation. Yes. Which is what you typically would assume to see in the second series of the season. So I think these are certainly winnable games. My only point is that I think the Angels will be better this year than they've been in years past. Again, I know that's a low bar to clear, but I do think that they made some good additions, and I think that lineup, if it stays healthy, could hit a ton of home runs, and that'll win you some games.
Yeah. I mean, Trout and Soler back to back is fun for sure. That's a lot of power.
Yeah, that could be 80 home runs between those two guys.
Yeah, that'd be fun. I'd love that for the Angels.
Yeah.
I hope that they do something stupid on the field and Ron Washington throws his team under the bus again, like they did last time the Cardinals matched up. If you remember, their second baseman failed to put down a bunt, and Washington just roasted him to the press corps. That was exciting.
That's what you bring in a Ron Washington for, right?
I guess so. Yeah.
He's getting him over the hump. That's the plan. I mean, that's why you bring him in, right?
Sure.
I mean, what else is he? Why else is he there? What's he doing? He doesn't. He's gonna die.
Ron Washington, known for getting teams out of over the hump for sure.
I don't mean this year, but Ron Washington is gonna take jobs until they find him dead in the dugout someday. He's gonna be 98 years old, managing the upstart Pittsburgh Pirates.
I say good for him.
Yeah, hell yeah. Get it if you can. Why not?
Yeah.
Pricing eggs these days?
Huh?
What? Wow. Okay. Little bit of league news going around as we ramp up the off season and spring training. What do you got for us, Hambo?
Yeah, kind of a lot going on. I'll try to run through this quickly. Jordan Montgomery will be getting Tommy John surgery next week. Cardinal legend. He's had a bad year and a half, 2 years. I feel bad for the guy, but hopefully he bounces back. And
at least he got the bag before all this.
Kind of. Not what he thought he was going to get, but obviously he's fine.
Yeah.
Just rough going for him.
Yeah. Went from World Series champion, kind of central to that team. Signs up relatively big contract and then just hasn't pitched or pitched effectively.
Yeah.
But he's young enough where he could recover and come back and still have a few years at the big league level.
I think he will. Yeah,
yeah.
that seems very likely to me.
Yeah.
The Orioles announced on Friday that they've reunited with Cardinal legend Kyle Gibson on a 1-year deal, reportedly guaranteed $5.25 million, and can earn another $1.5 million in performance bonuses. So it's only Lance Lynn out there, but Gibby gets a gig.
Yeah, I think we all kind of saw this coming at some point, right? Like he has a history with them. He's had a couple good years with them. Grayson Rodriguez is expected to miss probably a month. It could be more, but right now it's expected to just be a month. They need someone who knows where the bathrooms are, can hopefully throw up a quality start or two. Pretty low risk, mid reward type of thing.
They're relying a lot on two guys with no big league experience this year as well, Cade Povich and Tomoyoki Sugano. So good insurance move, I think, probably for them.
Yeah, I'm sure as a Orioles fan, it's probably pretty frustrating.
I would be mad. Yeah,
they are an all in type team right now, and they go and sign Kyle Gibson. That's
like Matt Bowman and Kyle Gibson are going to throw meaningful innings for the Orioles this year, and that's stupid.
That's rough. Yeah, when they could just simply trade Kobe Mayo for Eric Fetty right now and just get it done.
Yeah, let's go. Jared Jones of the Pittsburgh Pirates will not require surgery. He will be shut down for 6 weeks. Obviously, big news in the NL Central. That guy is good, but he'll start the season on the shelf.
Yeah, good news, I guess. You always, whenever someone opts for rehab and rest and rehab instead of surgery, it's a different version of rolling the dice, but it can work, and hopefully he comes back and he's healthy. We have such an interesting relationship with the Pirates where it's like I always want to root for the Pirates, even though they are direct competition for the St. Louis Cardinals. But I think it's a lot more fun when the Pirates are good, and I think Jared Jones is a very good pitcher. So it's more fun when he's pitching. So hopefully he recovers well.
There's going to be a time at some point here where it's Paul Skeens, Mitch Keller, Jared Jones, Bubba Chandler, and they're looking rough. Rough from a Cardinal standpoint.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Hopefully they can stay healthy. It kind of reminds me of the Mets when they had all their guys. Can they ever all be healthy and effective at the same time?
And then, or will the Pirates make insane trade like when they traded Tyler Glasnow for no reason, right? For nothing. So can they keep it together? Can they stay healthy?
Yeah. The Blue Jays announced on Tuesdays that they've signed catcher Alejandro Kirk to a 5-year extension covering the 2026 through 30 seasons. He'll be guaranteed 58 million buckaroos for that deal. Good for Alejandro Kirk. I like this guy. The Blue Jays make no sense to me. I guess this makes sense if they can keep around Vladdy Jr., but that's a huge, huge question mark. But good for Kirk.
I was a little surprised by this. I like Kirk too. And he put up 2.8 F4 last year. This really locks in a lot of his arbitration years, and I think maybe it was 1 year of free agency. So it's not a crazy deal, and if it doesn't go very well for them, it's not like it's going to bankrupt them. But I was a little surprised because he's kind of gotten worse the last couple years in a row, at least from an offensive standpoint. So it feels like an interesting time to lock him in, though. Counter argument.
Very good defender, though.
He is a very good defender, and the counter argument to that would be well, if you believe in him, it's kind of a buy low, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't take much of an offensive bounce back for him to suddenly become a very productive catcher or overall productive big leaguer. But his WRC plus has continued to regress. Last year 94, year before 96. But if you can get back to that 129 he had back in 2022, you can see that where that high end, where that ceiling is. So good deal. I was a little surprised by it. Feels like a weird time to lock him in, but maybe it was the exact right time to lock him in. And I don't know that they have a lot of other catching prospects. They at one point they had 3 of the best catching prospects in baseball, and now they've landed on Kirk alone, and they've locked him in.
Yeah, I
Would love
wonder
to
if
see
they
the
regret
Cardinals.
trading Moreno. I feel like they
Yeah,
probably do.
yeah, maybe. Who did they get in? It was the Varsho. Was it just
Varsho and
Varsho
someone
for
else.
Moreno?
I thought there was somebody else in there. Oh no, it was Moreno and the guy with the pineapple hair, Lourdes Gurriel Jr.
Oh
for
yeah,
Varsho,
right,
and I
right.
feel like they really screwed that one up.
Yeah, Varsho is still very, very good defensively, but he has struggled to stay healthy and has not hit quite as well as they were hoping for.
Speaking of extending catchers, the Mariners have extended Cal Raleigh, agreed to a 6-year, $105 million extension. The big dumper,
Hell
he's
yeah.
sticking in Seattle for the foreseeable future. Love to
They
see
dro-
it.
they dropped a big dumper of money on him, yeah. This is like complete. Like I was like, oh, a little bit about Alejandro Kirk, big dumpers, the man. I think this is a great deal for the Mariners, and it's a great deal for him. Maybe the best hitting catcher, or at least best over. Well, William Contreras is probably the best hitting catcher, but
Arguably the best overall catcher in baseball right now.
yeah, and you're not going to find many catchers who can hit 34 bombs and carry an okay batting average and do everything he does behind the plate. So great deal. I'd love to see the Cardinals go and just lock in Ivan, but I that's just not the Cardinal way.
Yeah, we'll see. Another extension going around. The Guardians have signed Tanner Bibby to a 5-year contract through the 2030 season. Bibby will earn at least $48 million. Again, just smart move. I don't have really much to add here other than Bibby is good. And,
Bibby is good. I was kind of surprised he took this. I mean, I don't know. I say that, then I'm like, well, no, fucking take the bag when it's offered to you, and you'll hit. You'll do well and hit free agency and make your hundreds later. But he's very, very good, and I think he's only going to get better.
And pitchers get injured.
Do. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I get it. I never begrudge a young guy for taking these extensions, because hell yeah, fucking get paid after 2 years of doing it, So I was just a little surprised, because he seemed to me to be a guy who's going to just continue to excel, and if he'd gone to free agency at the time, at his earliest possible availability, he'd get paid big time.
The Dodgers superstar Mookie Betts has finally turned a corner. It seems like he shed nearly 20 pounds due to the mystery illness. Happy to see that Mookie is on the mend. I will tell you, I am concerned for Mookie's year this year. 20 pounds for a guy that skinny is a lot. I'm sure that there was a lot of strength loss in that process, and it's like you can't just like gain muscle that quickly.
Yeah.
So I'm officially concerned about Mookie Betts' year. I really hope he is one of the best players in baseball and one of my favorite players to watch. I really hope I'm wrong on this.
Yeah.
That is a lot of weight, a really bad way to start the year. And for a guy that didn't have like 20 pounds of muscle to lose, curious how this all works out.
It's a fundamental reshaping of his body,
really is.
Yeah, that it is. I was thinking the same thing. He said he's been feeling, it is a strange illness, because he said he's been feeling great for a while now. He's participating in workouts, he's practicing, he just can't eat. So it's just some sort of crazy stomach bug. But yeah, 20 pounds of muscle is going to do that. It's going to impact anyone. But when you started at 178, I wonder what his muscle body, what is the phrase I'm looking for? The muscle mass percentage or whatever. Yeah. I wonder what it is now, because I imagine he was a guy who was like 4% body fat type of guy, and I don't know. It's got to feel weird.
Not great, but we'll see and track that. And the Pohlads are seeking at least $1.7 billion for the Twins. It was reported earlier this week that they have more than $425 million of debt on the books right now, which does not make any sense, because if you remember, they did not really pay much for their they didn't even pay that much for their new stadium. So why are they so in debt? I don't know, but they are seeking to move the Twins, and they're asking for almost 2 billion buckaroos. So We'll see what happens there. Hopefully somebody who wants to spend some money comes in, and somebody who is better with money, I suppose, also. But yeah, the Twins are on the market. We'll see what happens there. And that's all I got for league news.
If you want to, I was thinking we could maybe start a GoFundMe. I feel like I'd be a great baseball owner.
I think you would.
Thank you. So, chip
Talking
in.
about birds.com. Go to that, hit that Patreon up.
Hit that Patreon. We're going to buy the Twins.
How many people would we need at the Build-A-Wit tour to buy the Twins? Hundreds?
Let's see.
Or no, it'd be thousands.
We can do that math. What's I think the Build-A-Wit level of our Patreon is $1.5 million.
Yeah.
So we need 1.7 billion. Yeah, about 1,000, 1,200 people or so to pay us $1.5 million.
And the problem is, once one person pays that, we have to stop the podcast. So it has to be all in 1 week.
You know what? Let's start with one, Hambone, and we'll figure it out from there. So
smart.
The rules are on the Patreon. If anyone subscribes to the Build-A-Wit level, the show will be canceled, and then we'll take the marketing efforts elsewhere.
There we go.
Yep. All right, Hambone. It's that time of year. The spring training is over. The Cardinal season starts today, and we're going to do our little game that we do every year. We call it Draft Day, Heroes and Hatchlings Edition. So I just dropped in. We can't, because of our recording software, we can't do the live audio anymore where we hear the song. But we did just play our little Draft Day song from our associate music sound producer, Chris. So thanks, Chris. It's a little bop. So here's how this works. Ben and I are going to do a draft, and we are picking 3 players from the 26-man and 3 players outside of the 26-man. We're going to track them all year, and at the end of the year, we'll add up the accrued FWAR from all of our drafted players, and whoever accrues the most wins. In the event of a tie, which we have had, we will go to baseball reference WAR. That is our fallback. Okay?
All right.
And I guess in the unlikely event of a tie there also, I think we've said whoever selects the highest FWAR player is the winner. Okay?
All right.
I realize we did not select who would go first.
I mean,
and how we
as the winner of last year's game, I think I'd be happy to cede the first overall pick to you. I think you need the help.
Oh, wow. Okay. Is the first overall pick the best pick this year? But
I actually don't think it does, unless you're brave, like I would be, but you probably aren't.
Wow. So what do you say? You think the most obvious pick? There's a couple.
I know what my first overall pick would be.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think you're going to take him, though, so I'll be quite happy with this.
Okay, so here's
I'm thinking. Yeah,
I'm gonna think.
Yeah, give us your thought
here.
process. Yeah.
So part of me wants to just lock in Sonny Gray, right?
Yeah.
Best pitcher on the team, tied for the most WAR last year, has a clear path to accruing a lot of WAR. After that, you're looking for someone to either take a step up or a bounce back, right? And that's probably where you're thinking. So my first thought was Wilson Contreras. However, I do worry that first base position is going to stymie his WAR production. He's going to have to really crush the ball to get to a higher level. Then I think about Mason
and not screw it up defensively.
Right. And so then I think about Mason Wynn, who tied last year to lead the team. Or you could go Nolan, which is what you are. I'm assuming that's what you're thinking. I know that if I don't take Nolan with this first overall, he's going to be one of your 2 picks, because we do snake style. I do 1, then you do 2, then I do 2, then you do 2, right? Or did we just go back and forth? Vin's lowering his cool guy glasses to me.
I think snake style, right? Of course.
Well, did we alternate just back and forth, or do we do I do one, then you do two, then I do two? Like that's snake style.
Oh, I honestly don't remember. Make a decision.
I think we just alternate.
Okay.
I think that's more fun. Okay. All right. I'm going to take Sonny Gray.
All right, let's go. Nice pick. Nice pick. You are correct, Nathan. I am going to go with Nolan Arenado as my first. He's got that defensive floor, makes him a high earner, just that alone. And like I said, I think his power stroke is back. I'm buying Arenado stock.
Okay. Speaking of defensive floor, I don't think even despite the rough spring, Mason Wynn has gotten better at baseball every single year he's played. He just keeps getting better. He said he wants to run more this year. I'm expecting a power tick up, and we know he's one of the best shortstops in baseball. So and he led the team in F4 last year. I mean, he tied with Gray, but so I think this is a safe pick with some real upside. I'm going to take second overall, or second for me, third overall, Mason Wynn.
Yep. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. He was definitely who I was going to take if you did not take him, so that's fair. The fourth overall pick, I'm going to go with Lars Nootbaar.
Yeah.
I am betting on health. I am betting on him sticking at the top of the lineup, and that power and patience combo. He's going to put up some nice WAR. He's a good outfielder. Nootbaar, I'd like to see a big year from him as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is the sort of game where we're happy with any of these outcomes, right? But essentially what we're doing, and the reason I like this game and we do these check-ins too, is we're really just trying to track who's going to have the best years, right?
Yeah.
It's not always fun when we make these.
When Paul Goldschmidt accrues negative WAR over a 2-month period.
Yeah. I think I took Jordan Walker last year also, which was rough. But okay, my next pick, I've got
it's a big one. It's a big one right here.
This is my last of the 26 man. I've got Sonny Gray. I've got Mason Wynn. I feel like I went. They both arguably have upside. I talked about Wynn, but I feel like I went floor with my two picks. I'm going to go with some upside this time.
All right.
I'm going to take Ivan Herrera.
Damn it. I really thought I was going to get him. Wow. Nice pick.
Thank you. I mean, we've talked about him all spring. We've been talking about him for a year plus now.
Yeah.
In his limited time last year, he put up 2.1 F4. He's the starter. Killer spring. He does it all. I think he's going to have a monster year.
Yeah. That's who I was going to take. So good pick. Now I'm obviously it's Contreras or Donovan, right? And I think because of that first base thing, I'm leaning towards Donnie. Again, we're assuming health, but he hits the ball, he gets on base, and I want him to have a good year. So I'm going to go with Brendan Donovan as my last big leaguer pick.
Okay. Yeah. So my last pick was between Ivan and Brendan Donovan. I think it won't surprise me if Donovan is a candidate to lead the whole team in F4, and he's done it. He's been nearly 4 already, so it wouldn't take we need to see that power really take that next step for him to do that, but maybe. All right, so now we move into the not 26 man part of this draft, the hatchlings version. It comes to me to make the first pick.
There's a clear answer here.
I think so.
Answer. If you don't make it, I'm going to roast you.
Well, I think it's Michael McGreevy.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I saw when I said I'm going to roast you, I saw you shaking in your boots. You're like, oh no, what's
ghosts?
What could he say?
Don't roast me, Hambone.
Oh God,
I was worried, but yeah, I mean, he's got the clearest path to a starting spot. He's good. Yep. So yeah, Michael McGreevy is my pick. Who you got?
Yeah, and then it gets really muddy after that. That was
it really does.
The clear the clear number one right there. I thought at least. I am going to go with, we've talked about them. The Cardinals at some point are going to need a shortstop on the team. My assumption is the first person that's going to be up to fill that hole is going to be, is it Jose Fermin or Thomas Saggese? I'm going to go Jose Fermin. I think he's going to make some big league impact. Not a great defender. He can play short. But yeah, I'll go with that.
Okay. So I don't know when it's going to happen, but I think it's going to happen this year. Quinn Matthews is going to be a starter for the St. Louis Cardinals.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
Yeah, it might not be a lot of starts, so he's going to have to be pretty good. But I'm hoping for some, just maybe a chip in here at throughout the middle of the year to really seal the deal for my win. I'm really just not looking for negative WAR at this point, and which has happened to both of us through this game. So I'm gonna go with Quinn Matthews as my next pick.
Yeah, it's a brave pick. I like it. That's definitely somebody who I was hoping would not be taken by you. This is getting really, really messy for me down here. I don't really know. I'm not really feeling great, if I'm totally honest with you, Nate. But I guess I got to go on the upside play here. And yeah, I guess I got to just batten down the hatches. I'm going to go Thomas Saggese, another position player, likely to impact the big league club. To what degree, I don't know.
Yeah, I was hoping that you would not take him because he is one of the last ones that I really see having an impact on this team with any amount of consistency in order to accrue a fair amount of FWAR. So, all right, let me see. So you took Saggese. I've got, do I just go all in on Cardinal starting pitching?
I don't think you should. I think you should leave one of them. That's what I would do if I was you.
Yeah, you just leave one specific guy.
Yep.
Yeah. Because so I'm thinking it's like, okay, could it be like a Koperniak or even like, let's say something happens and we have Crooks up, right? Something like that.
I think you should go that direction.
Yeah. But I think I'm going to make you make that decision because I'm going to hedge my bet on Quinn Matthews and I'm going to take Tink Hence.
Damn it.
As my final selection here for the from the hatchlings section.
Damn you straight to hell, Nathan.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'll see you there.
So I'm thinking Riley O'Brien.
Yeah.
He could be a call up at some point to impact the club. Koperniak, of course, makes a lot of sense. Hellman makes a lot of sense. I'm really not feeling great about my pitching options, though, and I feel like I do need to get a pitcher because obviously the guys we're looking at in the bullpen right now aren't going to be there all year. If I go with Riley O'Brien, I think that he'll probably impact the big league club at some point, but is he going to garner me a bunch of WAR? I don't think so. That's kind of the problem there. Like even if he comes up and is good, what is he accruing 1 WAR at the very most?
Well, what was Helsley of one of the best seasons from a reliever in Cardinal history? It was like 2.1 or something like that.
Yeah. So that's kind of where the concern is, but I just don't see a pathway to playing time for a lot of other guys. And as you kind of talked about, the seeking out non-negative is where I'm at. So I think I'm going to go with Riley O'Brien. Just because I think he's going to be up at some point. I think he's going to perform well. I'll go with Riley.
Okay. All right. So that is going to conclude our draft. High stakes here, Hamba. And let me run it down for you. So Ben took Nolan Arenado, Lars Nootbaar, Brendan Donovan, Jose Fermin, Thomas Saggese, Riley O'Brien.
Yeah.
I took
good squad.
Sonny Gray.
Good squad.
Yeah. Sonny Gray, Mason Wynn, Ivan Herrera, Michael McGreevy, Quinn Matthews, Tink Hence. Wow. I like my minors more than you.
Yeah, I agree.
it's probably going to come down to our 2 overall picks here of if Nolan Arenado truly bounces back like you're predicting, that's going to be really hard for my team to keep up.
I'll tell you, the Ivan Herrera pick is the one I'm most concerned with right now.
I'm hopeful the Mason Wynn pick, he put up almost 4 WAR last year with a good season.
But I can see Mason Wynn and Lars Nootbaar having a similar season. It's Brendan Donovan and Ivan Herrera. I feel like you could really pull away from me there.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to root for. I don't want to say I hope so. I guess what I'll say is I want Ivan to have a 6 WAR season and Brendan Donovan to have a 4 WAR season. Something like that.
There we go.
Yeah. But yeah, we if you're new to the show, we check in on this about every quarter of the season or so, and it's just kind of a fun way to keep up on the accrual of this sort of stat from some of the top players on the team. And almost every year we end up I don't think either of us took Mason Wynn last year, and he ended up leading the team. We'll see.
Yeah, we're bad at this. Yeah.
Yeah. Of course. But the show is good now.
Show's good now.
And that's going to do it for this show. So hopefully all of you listen to this before maybe you're listening to it while you're stuck in traffic going to opening day.
Hey, there you go.
We hope everyone has a wonderful first day of the season. We did it. We're through it. Now is a great time to get your friends and family in on the show. So share it, please. TalkingAboutBirds.com is the easiest and quickest way to share all of our content with someone. You can listen to the show just straight on TalkingAboutBirds.com, which is nice.
Yeah.
So good luck to the Cardinals this year. We will be back next week with actual games to talk about, box scores. I'm excited. It's back. We're back. We never left. But where am I going with this? Happy New Year, everyone.
Land the plane, Nady.
And until next week,
let's go Birds.
really cool. I think this is like a cool guy look for you.
I thought I would go for, what season is this? Is this our 4th season?
This is our 4th season.
I thought I'd go for a cool guy look in our 4th season.
Yeah. So maybe I'll go grab my train hat and I can also look like a cool guy.